Okay. Call this meeting to order. Ms. Pizzoni, please call roll.
Stowe?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn? Yes. Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Please rise for the invocation led by Dr. Jay Powell from Church of the Beach.
Father God, we thank you for the evening. We thank you for everything, the good and the bad. On this day, we thank you so much for the nation that we get to live in. We thank you that throughout the centuries, you have looked out for us and protected us, and we ask that you would allow that to continue and that we as a group of people would look toward you. I ask that you give everybody on the council wisdom and allow them to make great decisions for this great city that we get to live in and call home. We do thank you so much for Panama City Beach. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please join Councilman Casto for the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Move on to community announcements. On Saturday, September 20th, there's Cirque Under the Stars at Aaron Bessett Park. On Thursday, September 25th, is our next city council meeting. That is a morning meeting. It is at 9 a.m. here at City Hall. On Saturday, September 27th, is the Fall Festival at Aaron Bessett Park. And then at Saturday, October 4th, and Sunday, October 5th, is Oktoberfest, also at Aaron Bessett Park. And then our following meeting is Thursday, October 9th at 5 p.m. That is an evening meeting. Now move on to the approval of the agenda and additions or deletions.
Yes, sir. I'd like to pull number 4 on the consent, which is Resolution 25-160. It's approving an assignment for a contract with B1 Management, and I'll bring that back in a future date.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Okay. I don't know, I was just going to write that one in the minutes. Ms. Pizzoni?
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Can we now move on to the presentation? Hand it over to Ms. White. Ms. White, if you'd like to lead the presentation.
Thank you. So, as most of you know, we had our first Citizens Academy that the beach has ever done this year. And we wanted to recognize all the participants in that, that participated this year. And we had about 19 people that came on a regular basis. Most of them are here tonight to be recognized. I want to thank them. They were a great group. We got to know them. I had the privilege of going every week. So over the course of those 8 weeks, we got to know each other a little bit. And we had a very diverse group of people from different backgrounds, different lengths of time in the city, different areas of the city. And they were super engaged, and they gave us really good positive feedback on what they liked and some things we can do better. And, you know, I think our staff deserves a lot of credit. Our department heads were very engaged, and I think they stepped up, and even more importantly, they got a lot of their staff engaged. So we had a lot of our staff that got to meet and greet and talk about the things that they do each day and kind of show off what they do. And it was a lot of fun. I think some of us maybe weren't looking forward to it when it started out. And it turned out to be just a super positive experience. And I think I was very pleased with it, and I hope that the people that participated got something useful out of it. And we're glad to recognize them tonight. I'm going to bring up Erin Thrower. Erin is our new PIO Communications Manager. She unfortunately wasn't with us when we did the Citizens Academy, so we're hopeful that we're going to do this again next year, and if we do, we'd like to invite the participants from this year that didn't get to hear the communications part to come back and to that particular session and hear what Erin has to say about how the city communicates. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erin, and I don't want to forget Latoya, because Latoya did a great job all 8 weeks coordinating and making sure that everyone was informed about what was going on, so super big thanks to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. As Holly said, my name is Erin, and I'll be helping out going forward with Citizens Academy. So we've taken all the comments and information that you all provided, and we're going to use that for next year and kind of look at the timing of the program and just how we can make it even better for our residents here in Panama City Beach. So I'm thrilled to be meeting here with you tonight, and we're going to present your certificates. And again, you get the honor of being not only the very first class for Citizens Academy here, but you're now the favorite class. So congratulations. When I call your name up, please come up, and if you'd like to say a few words, you may. And then if you could step to the center with the certificate, and then we'll do a nice group shot with the council. Okay? So if I could first have William Caravello. Right there. Okay, very good. Lauren Clack. Okay, sir, right in the center. Thank you so much. Michelle Coombs. Thomas Klomps, Lynn McKee, Cindy Morehouse, Jared Nance, Alexander Ponsal, Tracy Shoppy, Chuck Sowers, Brad Sparks, Seth Sternad, Thomas Trosson, Patty Whitehead, and Alicia Woodford. Okay. Okay, and I could have Miss Holly and LaToya, and if the council members could please.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Yes, round of applause first. Thank you. All right, and if the council could stand behind them, and if Miss LaToya and Miss Holly could come up, I'd appreciate it.
Everybody get
It's dangerous, they like to sing. All right, I'm gonna get way back. Congratulations, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. While we all get settled, let's make sure that we approve the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Ms. Pizzoni, we're approving the meeting minutes. We got a motion and a second.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tettemer.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we now move on to public comment on the consent agenda or non-agenda business. So this is for the consent agenda or non-agenda business. Please come up, state your name. If you do have a comment on the agenda, those public comments will be at a later time. Come up, state your name, and please keep it to city business.
John Latham. Let's see. I come before you today in opposition to the unmitigated failed war on spring break. The entire exercise has been employed to reshape the town and the image of the developers. The result has been a damaged economy and both draconian and almost comedic legislation. I will limit my comments to only two of these regulations due to time constraints. The first one being Chapter 16, Section 8, Subsection B. Any person found out of doors after 1 a.m. and before sunrise may be asked his or her place of lodging within the city or destination within the city and shall upon request furnish such information to the requesting official of the city. The lack of lodging or destination shall prima facie constitute camping within the city, within a public area, and a violation of this section. The right to travel unmolested is protected under the 14th Amendment upheld by Papa Cristo versus City of Jacksonville in 1971. The second is Chapter 7, Section 10, Subsection B. No person shall dig a hole in the sandy Gulf Beach deeper than 2 feet below surrounding grade unless part of a construction project permitted under the Florida Building Code or similar law. A former councilman cited the reason for this legislation was people having intercourse in said holes and proposed having police with binoculars searching for these holes. This last season, the consequences of this ongoing city strategy has been a gang presence. Regardless if these are unintended results, why continue on the same course? So I'd like some help in this matter. And the mayor and Councilwoman Coburn, when they were elected, was hoping for some change and, you know, fix the economy, make things a little bit better here. There was money coming into the town at one time, and like now we have the rates have dropped, and we have like the worst flotsam and jetsam coming down here. I'm like, I don't want the people that are currently coming down here coming here. So even with some of the problems that we had before, at least we had money coming in, so there was a counterbalance to it. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Latham. Further public comment? All right, Mr. Beck, you have repeatedly.
My name is Captain Gary Wayne Beck.
You've
I live at
repeatedly done
2601
comments outside of the
Beach Street.
city. Please keep your comments to city.
You're eating up
business
my
only.
time. Okay, Mayor, what I wanted to say is you're absolutely right. What happened to that child happened in the county. Ain't no reason we should be worried about it. You know, all the extortion that's been going on in the county, we shouldn't have to worry about it. You know, what they did
That's
to
not
the
for
little
this
blonde-headed
council.
girl, you know, happened in the county, so we don't have to worry about it. You're right. You know, what would, you know, that happened in the county. And then, you know, we're talking about what? Extortion. All the extortion happened in the county. Until just the other day, whenever the little lady came up here, Miss Sandy from 158 Heather Drive, I think that's it. And if I hadn't have been here, nobody on the planet would have even known this lady existed. This is a disabled medical worker that y'all charged $16,000 for 1 day's labor. Then when she came up here with a handful of cash, 3 code enforcement officers took her in a room and charged her $42,600 for 1 day's labor. I followed Chief Telemonte's advice, and I went over to the code enforcement officer, and I had the little fellow come out and tell me, well, you're just going to have to get a lawyer and sue me. I guess the next thing I'm waiting to hear is for y'all to tell somebody that I need to sue them because of what happened to the child. During the meantime, you know, they're telling me they're coming back on my property with the code enforcement again.
Okay,
and
sir,
since
that is
then,
outside the city.
okay, well, let's talk about the, I'm talking about the racketeering and the stuff like that that's been going on. It's connected because all y'all guys are doing the same thing, you know? But what I'm saying is they're coming back on my property.
Okay,
and
sir,
they're going to violate
sir,
the Constitution and Bill of Rights, which is
sir,
something
this-
you don't
you live
recognize.
outside the city.
The Constitution and Bill of Rights gives me the obligation to take and speak. You know, and they're going to come against my constitutional rights, and I'm going to serve
Sir,
it to
you've
them.
repeatedly addressed
What?
things outside the city. I'm going to ask you to sit down.
Outside the city, that's right. You don't care about a child being
Sir,
raped outside the city, do you?
sit
You don't
down.
care about extortion. You don't
Sit
care
down.
about the Constitution or anything like
Chief.
that. What you going to do, send Chief Telemonte who
please
turns a
move on.
blind eye to the capital felonies? That's what I keep facing. Y'all guys turning a blind eye. See, there's Chief Telemonte, as we always do. You know, always do. They rip me of my constitutional rights because I'm exposing the fact that you're stealing from old people.
Okay. Further public comment on consent and non-agenda items.
Hi, Molly Allen. And if you think I'm here to talk about Low Water Lake, you're right.
Can we straighten that
Yep.
microphone for Molly?
I'm always here to talk about Low Water Lake, and today I have an exciting venture that we are doing at the Friends of Low Water Lake with the Ocean Connections Group, who are the animal ambassadors for Pirates Voyage Dinner Theater. We have reached out to Olive Branch as the residential neighborhood that is closest to this great venture. And when they first came in, I sent them an email and I said, welcome to Panama City Beach. You've landed on an old coastal dune lake. And that we imagined that at one time true pirates could have come to this coastal dune lake. There could even be a treasure, we don't know, buried in that humatic soil. And so we reached out to them. We saw at Ocean Connections that they do cleanups, waterway cleanups at all their other parks, in Hershey Park and at Myrtle Beach and at Pigeon Forge. So we reached out to their educational department and they said, sure, we'd love to join you in a cleanup at our new location in Panama City Beach. So this cleanup will be on September 20th. We're going to meet at the corner of West Pier Park Drive and Front Beach Road. and we're going to clean up the old Seahorse Trail, I imagine is what it's called. It's really the sidewalk there that goes down, and you know there's some bushes, there's a metal railing, and so it's on the Pier Park Drive, and a lot of people through the season with their cups from the restaurants and their potato chip bags, and you know, as they're going fishing or walking down from the Veterans Memorial down towards the beach, the trash and the litter gets caught up there in the bushes. So we're going to clean up that area that could potentially get into Seahorse Lake. As we know, all roads here lead to the Gulf of Mexico. And so partnering with the Ocean Connections group, they're going to have their employees come out. I'm hoping potentially some city employees can come out and help us, and also the Friends of Low Water Lake. So we're inviting everyone on September 20th from 9 a.m. to noon to please come out and help us. I think it'll be a great event. Some of the neighbors will be jumping in their kayaks and canoes. And they'll be taking their trash there to the boat ramp. Some other neighbors will be walking down Low Water Drive. So we're doing a U-shape around Low Water Lake because, again, we feel like if we can keep the lake clean and the canal clean, ultimately we can keep our beaches clean. So we hope everyone will join in with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen. Further public comment on consent or non-agenda item business?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity.
Your name? Your name?
Oh, sorry. I'm Bill Caravello. I thought you all knew me already, but I guess not. Anyway, I just want to give a shout out to the people who put the Citizens Academy together. Did a great job. They should be commended. And also the presenters of each department did an outstanding job, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caravello. Okay, further comment on the consent agenda or non-agenda business? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Whitman, can you address?
Yeah, in reference to John's comments, I'll work with legal and look at Chapter 16. I know we've used it in the past and the courts uphold it, but I'll work with legal on that. As far as Chapter 7, the holes on the beach, that was a safety concern back in 2015-16 when we did that, for not only people walking on the beach falling in, but also our vehicles. It was there are illegal activities that happen in those holes, but that's why we enacted Chapter 7 back in 2015 and 16. And I just want to thank Molly for her dedication to keep our environment clean and safe. So thank you, Ms. Allen.
Yeah. On the Citizens Academy, you know, that wouldn't have been such a success without the staff participating and particularly the citizens taking your time to learn about your government. So we really appreciate it. Thank you for spending a couple hours every Wednesday with us and filling out the survey forms. We really appreciate y'all filling out those survey forms each time. That way we can make it better and better. Ms. Allen, that's great. Thanks for notifying us about that. It's great that Ocean Connections is also helping. We already addressed Mr. Latham's comments. Any further comments from the council? Public comment? Okay. Nope. Move on to the consent agenda. Ms. Fazzoni.
Resolution 25-157, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with Mr. Fence of Florida, Inc. for the installation of perimeter security fencing at the wastewater treatment facility in the total amount of $398,730.11 and authorizing change orders not to exceed a total amount of $39,873.01. Resolution 25-158, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving and authorizing the execution of Amendments 5 and 6 to the Administrative Services Agreement with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Florida, Inc., doing business as Florida Blue, and providing an effective date. Resolution 25-159, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, authorizing careful traffic control and extraordinary uses of a portion of Front Beach Road to permit the Shad-Eye Shriners Ceremonial Parade on Saturday, October 11, 2025. And number 5, revision to the master audit list to remove obsolete items.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tenmer?
Yes, ma'am. We now move on to our regular agenda. Regular agenda item number 1 is ordinance 1667. Mr. Davis, if you could read the title.
Yeah, this may take a minute. It's the longest title I think I've ever read.
Breath control.
All right, ordinance number 1667, an ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, relating to public safety during high-impact periods, amending Chapter 3, Section 3.5, clarifying enforcement procedures, creating Chapter 3, Article 2, establishing high-impact period regulations, including alcoholic beverage establishment age restrictions and security, lighting, and related operational measures, amending Chapter 4 to create Sections 4-2 and 4-3, providing for high-impact period designations and temporary regulations, including a temporary juvenile curfew, parental responsibility, and amending Sections 419, 420, and 425 regarding spontaneous assemblies, special event zones, emergency measures, permitting and limitations on special events, creating Section 440, establishing the Voluntary CARES Business Certification Program and authorizing fee incentives, amending Chapter 8, Section 1-183 to add high-impact period guest restrictions and security requirements for vacation rentals, creating Chapter 22, Section 22-30, providing special parking and towing regulations during high-impact periods, amending Chapter 25, Section 25-1, and creating Section 25-2 to provide enhanced civil penalties during high-impact periods, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, scrivener's errors, liberal construction, modifications, codification, and an effective date.
We've been taking lessons from Ms. Fazzoni.
It's the whole consent agenda right there.
Okay, we will open public comment on this item. Any public comment on this item? Just come up, state your name, and keep it related to ordinance 1667, please. Tom, if you could put those underneath there.
Please. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks. I'm Tom Trosson, recent graduate of the best Citizens Academy that Panama City Beach has ever conducted. And so I want to take it to the graduate level, so I took on this ordinance, and what I've done is I've provided the folks that are going to be responsible for answering these questions, the city attorney and the city manager, with some detailed questions that I've provided copies for each member of the council. And so just to get into it, is this modification to PCB code based on any other jurisdiction's currently implemented code? In other words, are we plowing new ground or incorporating proven policies from another jurisdiction? Number 2, the recitals cite events of 2025 as specific drivers of this ordinance modification. Is the data from these events readily available, and can it be provided prior to the second reading? The data might even be formatted to comply with the annual review of Chapter 4.2, subparagraph 5. Question 3, did the city wargame the expected impacts of the changes on local businesses, on local business requirements to derive expected support and security personnel, for example? What is the city's estimate of the increased business costs associated with this ordinance? And I asked that for a number of my friends who are business owners in the city. Question number 4, for an immediate declaration of a HIP by the city manager, how long do businesses have to comply with the increased security requirements, or are they expected to close until the increased security measures are in place? Number 5, is there data from 2025 or earlier that relates arrests and citations to specific heads and beds locations of cited offenders, justifying increased occupant data on vacation rentals, vice hotels? In other words, is there increased record keeping expected to contribute directly to increased safety due to offenders historically staying in vacation rentals or short-term rentals? Number 6, how are the renter records going to be sought? Through a warrant or a specific entity in the PCB PD or PCB government city official politely asking for them? What will be the process? Number 7, will there be a record-keeping spot checks on vacation rental property, short-term rental owners and managers, perhaps part of the annual safety inspection? Number 8, do the required security personnel have detention authority? Or are they just there to eject offenders from that particular business so that they can go on and cause trouble somewhere else? Number 9, what if vacation rentals, short-term rentals are individually owned and managed, but within a community footprint whereby a total number of 25 or greater units within that community? The hypothetical example I'll use without disparagement or any implication is the Caballeros Estates and the townhomes, 84 townhomes. If 25 or more of those are vacation rentals or short-term rentals, do they have security requirements? Number 10. Okay.
Tom, how many more of these do you have?
I've got 2 more questions and one other point.
Okay, well, we'll do another 30 seconds.
Okay, is there going to be a public information campaign by the city for each HIP declaration to notify the permanent residents of the impacts of the increased fines and the impacts so that they don't get accidentally caught up? Number 11, has the city considered the impact of open carry, and this is new based on events from yesterday, has the city considered the impact of open carry of weapons being addressed within this ordinance since an appeals court has stricken Florida's concealed carry ban as something when we talk about safety and the incidents in the past? And then the other piece is, the last one is editorial note, paragraph 4.40, subparagraph 5A is missing some words. Other than that, thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Charleston. Before anyone else gets up, IT, since we added 30 seconds to that, can we just add 30 seconds to everyone? Okay.
Can I request a copy of that to have up here on the dais with me now? Potentially.
That's what you guys want?
I would, I don't know. But
Yeah, I'd
sure.
like to have one as
I was going to do it after the comment, but.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
So yeah, we'll just do 3:30 for everyone.
Thanks, Drew. I was writing as fast as I could, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a few words.
Too many points there to write down.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I come before you today in ardent opposition, John Latham again. I come before you today in ardent opposition to Ordinance 1667. This legislation is authoritarian imposition against certain age groups as well as a demographic of people. The main end game seems to be an assault on short-term rentals during the spring break season. I will now synopsize some of these legislative components. Number one, higher towing fees and 72-hour impound, monetary gain and harassment. 2, minimum age to rent probably violates the Fair Housing Act. Number 3, juvenile curfews where parents are fined. Number 4, under 21 bars and clubs where bars are fined. The rewards from compliance during a high impact period under community responsible entertainment and safety is ripe for running businesses outside the good old boy protection racket out of town. The guest ID and amenity restrictions on private property of paying individuals is completely outrageous, and the rental restriction components of this legislation seem to be an expansion on Ordinance 1632. The reality is that the local restrictions only apply to 100-milers and undesirables and not the legacy ruling class. I will close with a quote from a former city mayor with an illegal sign on his diner to code enforcement. Write me a ticket. The alleged free market Republicans in this town seem to be as elusive as the American dream in 2025. Thank you. The rentals for a lot of people, there seems to be a belief that people are trying, like a slumlord type of thing where people are trying to rake in all this money. The reality is, a good friend of mine recently had to move because of the restrictions. Most people have one unit, and they rent this thing out to finance like a summer place. They live in Mississippi or wherever. So, that's I'm very against that. I'm like, it's a way for the little guy to move up. Yeah. Are there problems with some of the other larger corporations, organizations? Sure, but. Don't go after the little guy for it. Go after them with the larger organizations with some type of licensing. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Latham. Further public comment?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Michael Stein-Kirchner. I just want to reiterate one point that Mr. Latham brought up, and I think it is very, very important as it relates to the short-term rentals. I've been in this business for 15 years. There are people that had their 401ks rated that now their individually owned and operated short-term rental is their retirement. They're funding their children's college through it. I've heard this council speak many times about the amount of money that they're raking in. A lot of these are mortgaged properties. So to smash the conception that these are just millionaires, raking in tons of money. As it relates to the ordinance or proposed ordinance, while Mr. Latham did make a comment, short-term rentals are not subject to fair housing because they fall under a different category. However, we do fall under state statute because our licenses all are issued by the same entity that issues hotel licenses, the DBPR Hotel and Restaurant Division. One thing with this ordinance, Florida Statute 509095, we have to accommodate military personnel with active ID if they're under 21. That's a state law. It's preempted. Another requirement under state law is that we maintain a registry, a guest registry, and that's subject to division inspection. That is found in 509-101. My concern is the conflict with the ID, and I appreciate the council who read my lengthy email. You know, I'm all for good operations. If you have read my email, I've discussed it with Mr. Whitman and Mr. Davis, but it's patchwork. My insurance, because I have to maintain a physical copy or digital copy of that ID, is going to go up about 20% because of the threat of hacking and those sort of things. The individual business cost, as Mr. Trosson mentioned, I have to have an attorney go through all of my contracts and rewrite all of my rental contracts due to this ordinance. So, you know, on its face, the road to you-know-where was paved with good intentions. For small independent operators like myself, I operate a handful of properties. Owners who live out of state trust me to do that and do it well. But all of the additional steps and requirements cost me money, cost my owners money, and I've already had one guest, I sent this ordinance to them, they're gonna cancel because they're worried about the disclosure of information, the ability to protect the privacy of all the IDs for all of the guests. I mean, I have a house that sleeps 9. I have 9 guests that now have to worry about the security of their personal identifying data when it comes to it, which is not required under state statute. So it seems somewhat that we're encroaching on what the state does. I did appreciate Mr. Jarman having a conversation with me. There is still some debate about where the line with the DBPR is in regulating short-term rentals. It's clearly delegated for the fire inspection. That's clearly established in 509. When it comes to registration requirements and record keeping, that which is not included in state statute, to me, should specifically be excluded. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stein-Kirchner. Further public comment on ordinance 1667.
Good afternoon. I'm Randy Bradshaw, president of the Laketown Wharf COA. And we had looked through the ordinance. There's some parts of the ordinance that probably are useful and helpful in your tools. I want to echo some of the comments that have been made here as to the impacts on the property organizations. Our organization, in reading this and trying to comply as it's written, we feel is going to be about $21,600 extra per day in just security costs. We have on-staff security, and they handle probably 95% of the issues on our property. When we have evictions and we have people get unruly, we have had to call for police assistance. And our records show that happened about 11 times over the spring break. We have 765 individually owned units. Not all of them are short-term rentals. I am sure that there are probably some bad actors in our building that do not have don't follow all of the ordinances of Panama City Beach. We are trying to crack down and make sure that they do that through our resort fee and wristband program. And we have been trying to clean up our issues there, but a lot of the things that come up here as far as ID requirements and added security requirements are going to be probably falling back on us. And so it's impacting people that aren't even short-term renting. We don't want to have big parties in the parking lot or on our pool decks or anywhere else, which is why we try to stop that from happening. I can't recall in my time of living there that you guys have had to come down and break up any big parking lot parties or problems on our amenity decks. Also, we have some commercial partners that these things would even be a little bit more of an impactful on if they were to follow exactly the rules. We have one commercial entity there that serves alcohol that probably has a occupant load of 600. They're probably lucky to have 50 people in there at any time, but they have a large footprint and they have a lot of access and egress points. Some of them are through our RFID gated systems, and in discussions with them, probably 90% of their patrons come from within the resort. They have maybe 10 or 20% walk up. But I believe the owner of the occupancy is here. He can probably speak to that better. Hopefully you'll reconsider some of the things that you have in here and relax some of the standards. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bradshaw. Further public comment on ordinance 1667?
Hi, Seth Glenn, the owner of 810 Billiards and Bowling. Just echoing what Randy was saying there, our establishment is not meant to be a big party bar. I understand where this is coming from and trying to kind of put it into a lot of that. One of the biggest issues I've seen was this alcohol package that's been floated around with several of the different bars. You can buy a wristband and get drinks, unlimited drinks across that whole area. That's a big problem. That's not something we're a part of. Most of our clients do come from inside Lake Town. It's more of an amenity to the resort there. We already shut down and locked that front door at 10 o'clock anyways. So a lot of our patrons are just coming in with their families. It's gonna be one of the only places there that they can get to, but we just wanna have a nice, fun, safe establishment and not be looped into this, complete crackdown on all the bars, because we do serve liquor and alcohol, but that's not where our focus point is. And the security portion that is proposed it would kill us, especially in spring break. This last spring break, I know there was a lot of crime and stuff on the beach in that whole area, but it wasn't anything to do with us. It was none of our patrons, and we had no issues. There was no safety concerns at our establishment at all through the whole spring break. And just the police presence there, we had just started to build up a good local following, and when that happened, we had completely empty days, a lot of the days through spring break from that alone. So I'd like to definitely reconsider the security aspect, because that fee for us would be astronomical. I know we look like a big business, but we are a small, basically family-owned group of guys got together to make this happen, and I'd hate to have to, shut it down because we just can't afford security for the place. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Glenn. Further public comment? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Davis, were you able to take enough notes during those to address some of those coming up?
I think so.
All right, so let's go through the presentation of the ordinance.
Okay. I think there's a clicker somewhere over here. All right. Okay, so this is ordinance 1667, as you have obviously heard and read. So to talk about just how we got here, after spring break of 2025, the city engaged in a bunch of different meetings. City officials had a bunch of meetings about how to respond to the problems that we had in 2025. To talk about that, it's probably better not hear from me, but from Chief Talamantes. I want to thank him for all of the work he's done on this ordinance. And so I think I would probably invite him down here to talk about why we're here, and I can walk you through the ordinance from there.
Yep, sounds good.
Mayor, councils, you want me to start from the beginning? How far back you want me to go? The evolution of spring break has obviously caused a lot of different problems for a lot of different municipalities. We're not the only ones in the same issue. From whenever spring break started here in the 80s or 70s, or whenever it started, to what it is in 2025 is a completely different atmosphere. The biggest issue in regards to this past year, 2025, is what we saw was a spike in gun violence, primarily perpetrated by underage youthful offenders. We have not seen the level of gun violence that was represented in 2025 here in that short period of time ever. We've had violence in Panama City Beach during spring break almost seasonally, but it's been isolated to maybe 1 or 2 incidents within a weekend or a very short period of time. This was about 10 days, and I think we had 7 shootings in 10 days, to include a double homicide that we had to work. That was outside the scope of spring break, but it was still police matters that we had to get involved with and handle, as well as trying to handle spring break itself. The reality is that it's basically condensed in about, I would say, 2.5 weeks total, that we see the majority of this violent crime. Previous to those 2 weeks, the beginning of March is traditional collegiate spring break. We don't see as many issues as we do as the last couple weekends of spring break. So when talking about potential problems or solutions, we want to be able to focus our enforcement efforts in the time period that would have the most impact. The spring break of 2025 resulted in almost 800 arrests of adults, about another 100 arrests of juveniles. It was a very complicated order. We seized over 100 guns, made multiple drug arrests. A lot of people were injured. A lot of people suffered gunshot wounds. And frankly, it was a real big black eye to Panama City Beach. Your police department, who's budgeted for 87 sworn police officers, who is having retention issues and staffing issues, who typically operates around 70 to 75. It's a big stretch for us to be able to handle that. The mutual aid component that we have in regards to spring break is very helpful. Let me make that perfectly clear. However, as you'll see, I guess through the ordinance presentation, that the reliance on mutual aid is only as effective as the amount of help we're able to get at that specific time. It's a voluntary measure of public safety. Now, we have great cooperation with our surrounding agencies, but it does not negate the fact that if these surrounding agencies have major incidents occur in their jurisdictions, they will not be able to come and help us during those time frames because they're going to be handling their own business.
Chief,
so, sir.
How many agencies did you bring in for mutual aid last year?
6. So within those 6, roughly, I would say, 5 of them were paid on mutual aid from the city of Panama City Beach. We paid an allocation of our funds to them. The remaining were basically calls in if we need help from state agencies, and they provided as many resources as they could. But it was a scramble to find people. It really was.
And so during this issue, while we're having shootings occur, you're having to call up people and essentially beg them to come help.
I would say I pleaded for help.
Yeah.
So that's the position that we were in, especially leading to the last 2 weeks of this youthful spring break. I called in every favor I could find, or every favor I had, and called in as many police officers as we could get in our general area. And just by that, because I want to make a real big distinction about what our problems are and what the other spring break destination problems are. We are the smallest law enforcement agency in the state that has to deal with this type of time period. Spring break, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Clearwater, Daytona, all of them have hundreds and hundreds of officers at their disposal. We have, at the best, 87, with a little bit of help that could range up to maybe 100 officers. We got up to close to 200 by calling surrounding counties in, which was a massive coordination effort between the Sheriff's Office Association to try to get the surrounding counties here. Sustaining that level of police presence is almost is not a reality for the duration of spring break. So these ordinances is a plea to ask the community for compliance and for help to help us deter the criminal activity that is plaguing the city year after year after year. We could set our clock to about when the dangerous situations are about to happen based on historical data, and that's how we provide that information to the city so we could come up with these high impact areas. It's not a perfect science, but we've had some level of success in the manner in which we've been able to collect the intelligence and designate areas and time periods where we will see the most violence. But in regards to just violence during spring break, it is not a probability, it is an absolute that we will have it again if we don't make changes.
Yeah, and so that's why, and we'll go through this, that's why these ordinances are focused on specific time periods.
Correct.
This ordinance would be much shorter if Mr. Davis just put these all around, all year long. Instead, what this ordinance does is focus on the time periods we know or have intelligence and give businesses as far in advance as we can the ability to step up to the additional restrictions. These are not blanket additions.
That's correct. And look, you know, more ordinances and laws for us to consume, digest, and try to enforce year-round is more workload on the police department. That's why we wanted to narrowly focus it in the time period where it most applies in. I know there's going to be some people that are going to be a little, think this is a little overreach. Understand that the intention of this, of our efforts are to provide a safe and welcoming environment for those people that want to come here for the right reason. Because the ones that want to come here for the wrong reason is where these ordinances are going to apply the most.
Yeah, and you know, Mr. Glenn in his comment indicated the drop in business when the police went up and down South Thomas Drive. We can't do that every year.
No, look, the amount of resources that we have to deploy to one small section in Panama City Beach, I did been working on some percentages on deployment, and just for example, during the, I would say 8 to 11 o'clock hour, 80% of our law enforcement resources, 80% of our law enforcement resources are dedicated to one block in Panama City Beach. We have another 10% that's dedicated to the Pier Park area in case something goes wrong there. That leaves very minimal coverage for the remainder of the city. So that's your neighborhoods, that is your dark businesses, that is everywhere else in Panama City Beach that goes unprotected because we have to dedicate so many resources, equipment, time and effort into a very small section that is so largely affected by the spring break activity.
Yeah. In 1 second. Yeah, I mean, beach police, fire rescue, you serve the entire community, not just one block, or not just 2 areas. And so targeting geographically and in time when extra help is needed for businesses to help with security is extremely effective. That way you can serve the entire community, not just 2 blocks. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I was just going to, for anyone that has a misunderstanding, this ordinance is limited in time and location. And what we're talking about, as Chief said, we're talking about a period of, what'd you say, week and a half, 2.5 weeks?
Each spring break is different because of the way Easter falls, but it never exceeds past about 3 weeks total.
Right. So this is not something that's going to affect businesses year-round.
No.
Now, us continuing to allow this to happen will affect businesses year-round. But, so I just don't want anyone to think, oh, well, this is year-round and it's just going to destroy businesses. It's very limited in scope as far as time and place.
Yeah, this is targeted.
It's very targeted.
This is targeted just at the problem. Should we have written something that increased the cost for businesses all the way around? It would be a lot easier to write. It would be a lot easier to enforce, but it wouldn't be the right move. The right move is we have a specific problem, talk about conservative government, specific problem, specific solution, as limited and as strong as possible. And that's what we have here in this ordinance. Chief, you can continue.
Sure. Yes. So the idea is, you know, anybody who's been out there on Front Beach Road or Panama City Beach during spring breaks, we know where the hot spots are. We know where the collected crowd wants to show up, so that's where we deploy our officers, and that's where we want to affect more positive change. I could answer any other questions anybody has, or?
No, just appreciate all you do and keep up the great work. I think I've been in the travel industry my whole life. The day I got out of college, walked into a hotel and never left, and still work in that industry. And I know also from a family's perspective and families I deal with on a daily basis, the number one reason they choose a destination, number one thing they look at is safety. And ultimately, I also serve on the TDC with Mr. Jarman. I've watched our guest reputation and review score go from 4.6 a few years back to somewhat recently now down to 4.4 to 4.3 to 4.1 this year. And the number one determining factor that keeps going down is our safety. And it's because of these small isolated instances. So I want to thank Mr. Davis for really dialing this ordinance in, and your and Sheriff Tommy Ford both really, really diving in and making this, like you gentlemen said, that it's very targeted And I think it's going to accomplish exactly what we want it to. And this is a rising tide lifts all boats thing. When this happens, we get it across the finish line. Hopefully we can. This is going to allow us to bring those scores back up. We're going to be known as a safe, wonderful destination. This ordinance that I'm looking at doesn't deter any family that I would ever think of. Actually, it may encourage them to come here. So I appreciate all the hard work, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Chief, I did want to ask, what's your, how many more favors do you have in your favor budget?
Well, I try to keep, I try to invite the sheriffs to go play golf as much as I can, and the other agents, the other executives to maybe take them out to dinner by mistake throughout the year leading up to spring break. But it all comes down to that the law enforcement officers in Panama City Beach, this is their home, and they take a lot of pride in protecting their home. I'm not saying the level of service from outside agencies doesn't reach to that mark, but the level of service we want to provide, the community needs to reach to that mark. So, we don't want to see this anymore to anybody else. And to say we're frustrated is beyond saying is an understatement. It's just us saying we want to take the city back from the ridiculous criminal behavior that we've seen before.
Yeah, and we've talked about the visitor impact, but there's also tremendous resident impact to this level of violence. I've talked to people who will not go out in the evening during spring break. Families, even to adults, they just say, we stay away during spring break. So they lose part of their city because of instances that are happening in a few geographic areas for just a small amount of time. If we can address those issues via targeted, focused legislation that balances, yes, there's going to be increased costs. I know every business owner is focused on increased costs. But this legislation is asking businesses or requiring businesses to implement best practices from across the industry for a certain amount of time in a certain area. That's it. This was developed, there was a lot of conversations with other businesses to develop this. This is not just Mr. Davis or us up here thinking, oh, what if we could do this? What if we could do this? This was a very crafted, honed piece of legislation to focus on the problem and make it possible for businesses to comply and to keep the costs appropriate to compliance. Chief, I want to thank you. I know, the thing about Panama City Beach is everyone participates in security. Our residents call in tips. We get the flyers. We make sure that Chief gets the flyers for these takeover events. Takeover. A takeover event means the beach is ours, not yours. That's what these people are trying to do. They're trying to take over this beach. So the residents, they see that. They obviously get concerned. They forward them to us. They forward them to Chief. And they support beach police. They support fire rescue. You guys couldn't do what you do without public support. And then the responsible businesses have developed policies so that they can keep their businesses secure. And you guys, obviously on the ground, put in tremendous efforts. And so what this is targeting is the businesses that are impacted in this area. You need to step up on security for this time period. Chief, we really appreciate your work. Your staff does an amazing job. You have challenges that private security doesn't have. That's the thing, is the beach police, they are a government entity. They have tremendous restrictions. Private security, if you're private security on a private, in a private business, you can do a lot, you can act a lot differently than a police officer does, right? You can be even more targeted. Instead, we have to do these things where we line a street up and down with cars when some simple private action would take care of this. So, Chief, in my opinion, we have shifted the burden from those who have come to create chaos. We've shifted the burden onto Beach PD way too much, and we need to address that. Mr. Davis, thank you, Chief.
Sir.
Mr. Davis, if you can continue with the presentation.
Chief, Mayor.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Make a couple of comments.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you could set your watch by these, when these time periods were going to happen, and I believe the way the city manager explained to me the other day, in January, you guys are going to identify these times, and it's going to give these businesses time to ramp up and get more security and not just spring it on them. And it's like Councilman or Vice Mayor Jarman said, it's not 52 weeks out of the year, it's 2 or 3 weeks that we're talking about. It's not 52 weeks out of the year, but you guys have done a great job over the last year putting this together, and I think we have to do something, and I think this is the next step. I hate to put a burden on some of those businesses, but when you're having to allocate 80 to 90% of your resources towards one problem area, it's time for them to step up, I think, and I applaud you and the city manager and the sheriff and everybody, Cole, that wrote this up. I think it's worthy of trying it.
Yep.
That's just my opinion on it, and
This is not time for half measures, because every time we do a change up here, there's going to incur business costs. There's going to incur changes to contracts. So if we do not address it here, and we have to next year come back and do another change, that's going to do another round of changes to contracts, that's an additional business cost.
And the TDC, I understand, is going to spend quite a bit of money marketing, trying to let these folks know we don't welcome them down here. We're not going to put up with this type of behavior. So the takeovers the mayor's speaking of, we don't need that in this community. So
Yes, sir.
thank you, and I'm for giving this a go.
Yeah, this is our community.
Absolutely. And I think that we're wearing your staff out by working them so hard, even though you've got mutual aid coming in. So we need to look at the well-being of our own officers as well during these times.
I appreciate you saying that, because it is very taxing on these officers during that period. And you know, with the spring special event season coming right after spring break, there is really no real downtime anymore in Panama City Beach any time of the year. So they do have a heavy lift, and but they're all committed. And make no mistake, we're up to the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as you tell us what tools we have, the plan starts then. Our operational plan starts right there and then, knowing what tools the city has allowed us to utilize, and our operational plan goes into effect there. To your point, Councilman, yes, we have historical ways for us to be able to forecast, and we want to give the community and I'll even say more importantly, the bad guys as much notice as possible to know that they're not going to be able to do this in this town. And that is the strategy that we are going to be utilizing, is utilizing historical intelligence data to forecast when we could see potential threats, identify those threats, identify the bad actors, and reach out to them in their home and let them know, we know you're planning to try to do this again, and these are what we're going to do to try to stop you from coming over here in a very direct and strong manner.
Absolutely. I mean, the cheapest enforcement is the enforcement you don't have to take. So part of the HIP proposal, which eventually we'll get to, sets a time period when these are going to come into effect, when the unaccompanied minor curfew is going to come into effect. And that's going to deter behavior that we do not want here. This package is part of a defense in-depth strategy. There's additional tools on the ground with some of the new tools for pop-up events. There's the seasonal planning tools for the HIP, the high impact periods. And then there's long-term tools with the CARES program, which will provide additional benefits, should this pass, would provide additional benefits for businesses that step up their security. So this is part of an entire package. This is not just a knee-jerk reaction. This is focused on deterring the threat, but also, should it get here, take it back. Anything else?
I'll wait till after the presentation.
All right, all right. I know Cole's been chomping at the bit. And Mr. Davis, feel free to throw in, I know there's a decent, I got a couple pages of public comments here. If there's anything you can address during the presentation that came up with, and of course, we're happy to have discussions, you know, offline as well, for specific questions from public comment.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll try to address them as I go. And so when we talk about what exactly we're doing, so the concept of a high impact period, we did not invent. That is something from the city of Miami Beach did, I think in 2023 when they kind of had a famous breakup with spring break. They instituted an ordinance that created high impact periods. So I was inspired by them. Their ordinance is a little bit different because their problems are different. Their geography is different. We're a bigger city from a geography standpoint than Miami Beach. But we took that concept and kind of tailored it to what the feedback that we got from members of the council, from members of the community, business owners, and obviously our public safety professionals about what was needed to address the problems that we had. So the ordinance takes the designation of a high impact period and then creates a regulatory scheme around that designation. So you have a normal day, and then all of a sudden when there is data that indicates a surge in visitation that will stretch resources too thin, and that is something that we have to have data to, then there will be a designation. I'll get to that. But those designations are narrowly tailored both in time and in geography. So they are not citywide unless the data supports that, but more than likely from talking to everyone that we've talked to, they will be limited in geography to a zone that is necessary. And that is a similar concept to special event zones, which we implemented in 2023 as well and have done so with some pretty good success. So this is taking several different concepts that have been working and applying them in a different manner. And so what we do when we declare a high impact period, we deal with different things, and so there's a list of those there, and my computer was able to make me a nice little graphic there. And so I'll go through each of those one by one. Stop me with any questions as you go. So how do we designate a high impact period? That's obviously a big concern for a lot of people. But what we need is data that where there is the data suggests that the extraordinary crowds, and this is from the ordinance, pose a significant impact on the city's resources and ability to protect public safety and welfare. What we have been doing in the past is waiting until things got to an emergency, declaring emergency, and then shutting down anything and everything that we needed to disperse the crowd. And as we've heard tonight from both the council, members of the public, and the chief, that large response from a police standpoint creates its own problems. It taxes our resources, it taxes our businesses, and so this is designed to have a middle ground between normal day and emergency. So what happens is it is declared by resolution of the city council. And when we do so, we indicate the rules that are in effect in that designation, the area where that designation occurs, and the time when it will end and begin. As the chief mentioned, we will try to give as much notice as possible. And I know that if this passes, I think the next step will be to start working on that calendar as soon as possible. The ordinance does allow the city manager to declare a high impact period if there's not enough time for the council to convene. No matter what, whether the council declares it or the city manager declares it, it cannot go into effect for at least 72 hours unless the city manager also declares an emergency at the exact same time. But if otherwise, there's at least a 72-hour breathing period before any rules that you put in place for a high impact period go into effect. So the other thing that we worry about is making sure that everyone has notice. So we will put that notice on Alert Bay. We will put it on our social media. We will reach out to the media itself. There are multiple different notice provisions that are required by the code to inform everyone about that. And then there's a big accountability period in this, which is that each year by, I believe, November 1st, the city manager has to submit a written report to the council detailing any high impact periods that were declared in the previous year, how many incidents we had, what rules we put in place, and a list of all the different things to use, so you can use that as a tool to reevaluate this program as we move forward. And so we go to the first prong of it, which is what we'll call bars, but it's any business that is serving alcoholic beverages past 10 p.m. So past 10 p.m., unaccompanied minors cannot be in a business that serves alcohol. Now, there are exceptions if they are working in that business or if they have a parent, guardian, or a responsible adult with them who has that parent's consent. So there are some common sense exceptions there. Businesses are liable for allowing that, but there is an affirmative defense to that liability. If they institute and they can establish that they have instituted an ID check and you know, some sort of method by which they are removing underage patrons after 10 p.m. And then obviously there are strict penalties for that. Underage people that also knowingly violate that are also subject to civil violations as well. Any questions on the bar regulations?
So they can, you can still have minors if they're with a parent?
Correct. So if you are with your parent, and this doesn't apply to you at all. If you are a family visiting here with your children, none of this applies to you whatsoever.
Okay.
And even if you are not with your parents, and if you are with a person that is over 21 who has the parents' consent to take them to the place, that is okay too. And if you are 19 or 20, this does not apply to you. This is only if you are under 18 and you are unaccompanied by a responsible adult.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, the goal is to keep families together. You know, rather than letting some of these unaccompanied minors run around, stay with your parents.
Correct.
During these timeframes in these specific geographic zones. Go ahead.
Okay, so the next one we have is curfews and parental responsibility. So as the other piece that was requested by multiple public safety professionals is the ability to institute juvenile curfews in other areas, not just in bars. And so this is a discretionary authorization the city manager can do based on the request of the chief of police. And that will also be limited in time and scope, but it can cover larger areas than just one single business. In that case, there are even greater exceptions. There's a statute that governs how we handle juvenile curfews. Anyone who's going to school, traveling to or from work, school, going to their place of lodging, participating in a religious event, or responding to an emergency, all those things will be exceptions. But we do have the ability to declare that curfew, again, when narrowly tailored to deal with a situation. Now, for both the minors in bars provision and the juvenile curfews, we are also holding the parents accountable. So if a parent knowingly allows their child to break that curfew, then they are also responsible. And if we know that they have been either cited or warned before about allowing their child to break the curfew, there are criminal penalties that carry that as well. And that follows a state statute that also, there's state statutes that allowing your children to be involved in criminal behavior and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Both of those statutes play into this provision as well. So we've kind of taken that concept, applied it here when it comes to these curfews, something else that was requested by our public safety professionals.
Yeah, and if I recall, the reason for that request is we get a decent number of people who just drop their kids off here and use the police, your police, as babysitters. And so this is just encouraging families to stay together during these areas, during these times.
And let's be honest, I mean, if my underage child does something, I can be held accountable for it in many cases. So it's not really a big stretch of the law at all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay, now we look at security and lighting and safety, and this is something that is probably one of the most common requests or best practices that we've heard about is having mandatory security personnel at businesses that are licensed to sell alcohol after 10 p.m. That's only within a high impact period within a high impact zone. Right. So it's very, very limited to those businesses. And in the case where those businesses do desire to continue to sell alcohol after 10 p.m., they are required to have security, and that is one for every 150 patrons, and then one for every 50 parking spaces, plus another for every additional 100 spaces. In addition to that, we have a requirement that parking lots for those businesses also be lit. This ratio kind of comes at the working closely with Chief Talamantes on that ratio. But one of the things that we have heard a lot about is issues that occur in parking lots at establishments has been a big problem. Now, we know that ratio is not going to fit, it's not one size fits all. And so what we've built is the ability for a business to present an alternative security plan that provides the same level of security but doesn't necessarily meet some rigid ratio. And that can be approved by the city manager and the chief of police to allow them some flexibility in how they intend to address these security concerns without strictly following a code. So we've built that in to provide that flexibility, as we've kind of heard tonight.
Yeah, and that's an important point to emphasize is, you know, I know I mentioned how long this thing is. We can't write every exception into this, but allowing our public safety officials to work with businesses to address their specific issue as long as it meets the goal of these standards for a customized security plan for particular issues like shutting the front door, only allowing other guests, guests from the surrounding area to come in. Things like that can be taken into account one-on-one. We're not going to be able to write every one of those in. That's why we have this provision.
Mr. Davis, the mandatory security personnel, it says equal to 1 security officer per 150 patrons. Is that in addition to the parking lot patrol?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it's kind of inside and outside.
Inside and outside, okay. I figured as much. I just want to be clear.
Yes, sir. And so vacation rentals, obviously, we've discussed vacation rentals a lot. So the first provision that we have is that any vacation rental is required cannot be rented, so the primary renter themselves must be 21 or older. Now, we have built in an exception to that for reservation contracts that have been executed prior to the declaration of a HIP. So if a person that is under 21 rents a short-term rental, and then all of a sudden a high-impact period is declared after both parties to that transaction have executed an agreement, at that point, we will grandfather that, we will honor that contract. That will not be a violation to allow that person to be a guest. And it's only the primary renter that has to be over 21. The guests do not have to be that. And then the dovetail to that is that the names and ages and copies of IDs for adult guests must also be obtained and provided upon request. And I'll try to address Mr. Steinkirchner's comment there. So there's an exemption for military personnel that only applies to hotels, motels, and bed and breakfasts. I don't think that vacation rentals are a separate designation under state statute. They do not. That military personnel exemption doesn't apply. I'm happy to add it at your direction. I don't think it's a problem, but that's why I did not automatically add it, because that statute does not apply to vacation rentals. As it relates to the registry of guests, that registry of guests is only available to the Division of Hotels that's part of the DVPR. So that information is not available to the city. The guest information that is kept by the vacation rental is only requested if necessary for a criminal investigation. Some of the feedback that we got is the inability to track people down is common when you have unaccompanied minors that are coming, that are renting vacation rentals, and many times the vacation rental property owner or manager does not have the guest information to provide to the police, and so this is a tool to allow them to better do their jobs. One of the next things is, so when we have large complexes, and to Mr. Trosson, one of Mr. Trosson's questions was about how do you define a complex, and just today I actually added a new definition to what a vacation rental complex is. I will scroll down and read it because I know Mr. Trosson likes details, and so I will give them to him.
And the ordinance is also available in the back. The proposed ordinance is available.
So we define vacation rental complex is a single parcel or two or more parcels that are contiguous or separated only by a public street or right-of-way under common ownership, control, or association management that contain more than one dwelling unit or guest room offered or used as a vacation rental, and that share on-site amenities, common elements, or access, including pools, decks, elevators, lobbies, parking areas, or garages or beach accesses. This term includes, without limitation, condominium and cooperative properties, resorts, condo hotels, and multi-building or phased developments operating under a unified rental program or association. This term does not include single detached dwellings or duplexes that are not part of a coordinated rental operation with shared amenities or ownership. So only those complexes with over 25 units are then subject to the security requirements. And so if you follow under the vacation rental complex with over 25 units, at that point, you need one security officer for every 100 units, one lead supervisor, and then one additional guard at every access point into the complex. I don't know how that, and again, in the same ability to propose alternative security plans that we have in place for alcohol businesses also applies to vacation rental complexes. So if you have a larger complex that can provide the equivalent level of security without meeting these rigid standards, they can propose that alternative plan that can be approved by the chief of police and the city manager, and to allow them some flexibility. The next piece that we have, and this piece actually applies to hotels and vacation rentals. So everyone is aware the ability for local governments to regulate vacation rentals and to regulate hotels is very different based on the language that the Florida legislature has provided us. And so we still, we require that both vacation rentals and hotels during high impact periods only allow their registered guests access to their common area amenities. So their pool decks, their pool bars, things like that can't be accessed by general members of the public. They need to be those guests that have been registered to their room. And I've talked to hotel owners that already do this, but they are happy to welcome this regulation. And then the last piece of this is that we require that guests be notified of these rules when a high impact period is declared.
Do we want to talk about the military?
I was gonna wait till the end.
Okay. All right, we'll wait till the end. Okay. We'll batch them up.
Yeah.
And I will reiterate Mr. Steinkirchner and Mr. Latham's point that the Fair Housing Act doesn't apply to vacation rentals, and so I'm not concerned about that liability. Okay, next is parking and towing. So if this is one, these provisions probably more closely align with the Miami Beach ordinance. This is almost identical to what they did, which is they authorized their city manager to implement temporary traffic measures in the high impact zone as necessary. And we imagine that a high impact zone will probably also be a special event zone under existing law. So those two programs will dovetail to control traffic as best as possible for public safety reasons. We have increased the public parking rates in our city-owned lots. They will automatically double to a maximum daily rate of, or they either double or they go to a maximum daily rate of $150 depending. And then we also double the towing fees. That is something that Miami Beach found to be very helpful in dealing with the large crowds that they were experiencing.
Yeah, so many, you know, when you talk to folks about these problems, it's always someone else. It's always someone else. And one of the things they say is, oh, it's the people staying in their cars overnight. So this is addressing the potential for those people staying in the car overnight as well.
Correct. Special events we've also addressed as well. So we have prohibited any second large event during a high impact period. So once one large event is permitted during a high impact period, any second large event is prohibited. You will recall that you passed an ordinance about a year ago that requires any second large event to be approved by the council. It's not approved by the staff level. That application, in the event that we have a second application for a large event during a HIP, would be prohibited. It wouldn't even come to the council. It just wouldn't be allowed. And then we've added a 20% increase in security, medical aid, and traffic control personnel across the board for any special event that occurs during a HIP. Now we are grandfathering any event that is permitted prior to the declaration of that HIP, for the same reason that we're grandfathering those 21 and up rentals, or those under 21 rentals. And then there's a new provision that actually, this is one of the only things that operates year-round, which is we've allowed the chief of police to have some emergency authority when it deals with shutting down pop-up events. Currently, the chief of police is required to find the organizer of a pop-up event, provide them an opportunity to shut down or mitigate that pop-up event, and only then if that person fails to take action, can the police disperse the crowd or deal with that pop-up event.
So the chief of police has to go on Snapchat or Instagram and find the person who posted the takeover flyer and give them the opportunity?
Correct. So the challenge is, of course, when we wrote the pop-up event ordinance, we were thinking about things that occurred in venues that maybe just got out of hand. In the takeover party world now, these are events that are organized entirely online. The organizer may not even be there, and so what we've done instead is if there is an imminent threat to public safety and the public health and welfare, the chief of police is able to immediately shut down a pop-up event and do whatever is necessary only to deal with that imminent threat. So it's not carte blanche, it is not anything that they want to do, but it is the ability to take immediate action when necessary.
And I want to congratulate previous councils for this expansion of the pop-up events that we're addressing here right now. And what they did, which is what we're doing right now, is addressing the problem as it occurs. So the problem was these flyered events, so they addressed that problem. Now the problem is these pop-up events that happen on Instagram or Snapchat or elsewhere. We're updating the ordinance to address these.
And last but not least, we have the CARES program. So this is not a penalty program, this is a reward program. So what we have done is, in partnering with the Panama City Beach Convention and Visitors Bureau, who are the marketing arm of the TDC, we are establishing the Community Alliance for Responsible Entertainment and Safety program, which businesses that essentially meet additional safety and responsibility standards are certified by the program, by the city, and then in that case, they are eligible for additional promotion and marketing by the CVB and the city, as well as the city manager is authorized to waive fees for those businesses, whether that's vacation rental registration fees, special event permits, other fees. Now, we have excluded business taxes and, water and, sewer rates and things like that that fund the government, but obviously service fees are things that you've authorized him to waive. The standards for that program are, they're not written into this ordinance. They're for you to decide later in consultation with the CVB. And one thing to note is, because we don't want different businesses to be treated on different footing, this program is dependent upon Bay County adopting a similar program on the unincorporated parts of the beach. And so, you as members of the council will probably need to talk to your counterparts at the county about adopting this program, but we have worked with the CVB and they are on board, but they want to make sure that they are not unfairly treating certain businesses. And I did learn, Ms. Thrower taught me yesterday that Disneyland in California has a Good Neighbors program that is very similar to this, because there are lots of businesses outside the bounds of Disneyland, and those certain businesses and hotels are able to meet higher standards set by Disney, and in exchange, you can book a restaurant or a hotel directly on Disney's website because you are a good neighbor. So I didn't realize that we were copying Disney on this, but we did.
And talk about the fee waivers. How will those be available for inspection by the public?
That's a good question. I believe, the city manager has to submit a report providing, noticing everyone as to what waivers were granted. So everyone knows, for compliance purposes, for transparency purposes, the city manager has to tell the council what fee waivers he's granted. And so obviously that will be in a public meeting and available to the public.
Yeah, so there's reporting, this is not just a handshake deal with the city manager, not that Mr. Whitman, we think, would do that, but, there'll be future city managers at some point that won't be, so we want to make sure that this information is available to the public, so it doesn't just become something that is not equally applied based on the standards passed by the council.
Correct. And so to put a finer point on that, each waiver or discount has to be filed with the city clerk within 10 days of the grant, and then quarterly that report has to be submitted to the city council in a public meeting. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. I'll come back to the main slide. I can try to address questions now, or I can, however you guys want to handle this.
Yeah.
Quick thing, with short-term rentals, is there a provision, or do you know if it's acceptable or would be acceptable for check-in using virtual means?
Yes. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be in person. It can be virtually. It can be through a platform. It does not have to be a hand-to-hand transaction or a physical copy. There's leeway in how they want to comply.
Okay. I think we've kind of front-loaded this with our discussion. You want to address the military?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, just write in the military exemption for the SCRs.
I'm fine with that.
If everyone agrees.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, add the military exemption for the under 21 during the during the high impact period. Well, as I said before, this is a multi-step. This addresses this public safety issue in a focused and balanced way. There are additional costs. There's a CARES program to provide, some financial benefits. There's on-the-ground enforcement for the chief for these pop-up events. There's seasonal projections so that you can look ahead and plan for these. And then there is a long-term CARES program to raise the standard at PCB. This is targeted during these timeframes. We're seasonal. We know when this happens. We're going to limit it to certain areas and certain times to make sure that we get the problem and don't cause any more unnecessary impact to businesses. And finally, it's strong. It takes care of the problems that we're seeing now with unaccompanied minors who are carrying high-powered weaponry to the extent, and a police force that does everything they can with the tools we've given them. But they need more tools. They need the tools to take care of these pop-up events. They need to not be the only ones addressing the business security issues. They're not your private security. They're for the entire beach. They're not for 90% or 80% in one area, 10% in one area, and then 10% for the rest of the beach. So yeah, if you have additional security requirements, just like if you lived in a city and you had additional security requirements, that can't be fully outsourced to the beach police anymore. I'm all in favor of this as amended. I'd like the council's opinion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tettemer?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we now move on to regular agenda item number 2, resolution 25-161. Mr. Davis.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving a grant agreement with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for a unified command bus for the police and fire departments in the total amount of $500,000, and authorizing Mayor Stuart Tettemer to execute the grant agreement on the city's behalf.
So we just hear my name in that. Okay, any public comment on this item?
Mayor and Council, Michael Steinkirchner, I do support this. On a parallel note, we're going to go by the rules. Let's go by the rules. The mayor just spoke no less than 8 times on that last issue. The rules under the code state under 2-17, this relates because I want to make sure you don't do it again. Don't interrupt my time. The rules of order state that no speaker will speak more than twice to any given question. You want to go by the rules? Let's go by the rules. You spoke no less than 8 times on the last question. So you're going to impose rules. We're going to make sure you go by the rules, Mr. Mayor.
Further public comment? Seeing none. Chief?
So we're very excited about the project. We're in need of a mobile command center. The one that we are currently using is literally still held together by some duct tape and a couple screws, and we've been keeping it going, but we definitely need something there where the fire department, police department can transition command centers up and down the beach, also be utilized in emergency services like hurricanes and other natural disasters. But Florida legislature appropriated $500,000 for the purchase command bus, and it's going to go a long way with our operational planning.
Questions? Okay. Any questions, comments from Chief?
I just want to say this is great, well, not for the chief, but I just wanted to say, well, he always knows he's doing good in my eyes, but wanted to say this is a great thing for the city, and I want to thank all the legislators that have helped make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Our state partners, Representative Griffiths and Senator Trumbull really helped us here. This is going to be an effective tool. We deal with a lot of influx of crowds, special events, and so this will be a unified command bus for both fire rescue and beach police. Excited to get this grant agreement to help us pay for it. Okay.
Absolutely. Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Mazzoni?
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we now move on to the city manager's report.
Just three things tonight. First thing is on our civil service board, we have a slot that's about to come up. It's David Beckham. You guys appointed him about 2 years ago to fill a seat. His term's up. He's been he notified the clerk's office that he'd like to be reappointed if you guys would like to go that route, or if you want me to open up applications.
I'm fine keeping Mr. Beckham on the Civil Service Board.
Absolutely, if he wants to stay, I'm.
Do we need a vote on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's good. Okay, get a motion to, or do we need a?
Motion to
You need a motion
approve
for that?
reappointing Mr. Beckham.
Second.
Ms. Mazzoni?
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am.
I also like to congratulate all the Citizens Academy people that got their diplomas today. It was a great thing for our city, for them, so hopefully they become good ambassadors for our city. I just want to congratulate them again on that. And last but not least, today is the 24th anniversary of 9/11. Just keep that in your thoughts and minds tonight for the people who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And I want to thank the police department and fire department for going to the two functions today with me at Breakfast Point Elementary and Arnold High School. I want to appreciate the fire department and PD for going with that.
Absolutely. Okay, city attorney.
No report.
No report. Talked enough today. Okay. All right, Councilman Casto?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to thank the TDC this week. They fully funded our lifeguard program. I think it was a total of $2.1 million. Two of them are here tonight on this board, and that's a huge step towards deterring drownings in the future. So, and it also frees up a couple extra $1 million for our general fund. So, kudos to the TDC. Good job. That's
Yeah, absolutely. Thank our representatives of the TDC for getting that done.
Absolutely, that was good news.
Absolutely. Councilmember Cope?
Yes, I was honored to attend those 9/11 remembrances today at Breakfast Point and Arnold, and some wonderful young people out there that weren't even alive when it happened, and yet they're still engaged and remembering. And I'd like to thank our first responders for coming out as well. You guys deserve a huge thank you from our community. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the cleanup on September 20th at Seahorse Trail.
Okay. Councilman Register?
I don't have a lot, I think we took a huge step forward today for the city of Panama City Beach, and I know the county's gonna follow, and just a lot of thanks to Chief Telementez and also Mr. Davis, Mr. Whitman, Ms. White, also you, Mayor, really dialing this ordinance in the way it needed to be. It takes us from a reactionary approach to a proactive approach, and that's what the ultimate deterrent is, and I kept hearing that from not only our sheriff, but our chief as well. And I think we took a major step forward in making the city of Panama City Beach a safer destination to invite wonderful families to come. And we took a big step to get this black eye gone. And I think it's, we've been through a lot, and a lot of the people that were involved in these ordinances have seen us overcome. We're a resilient city, a very, very resilient city, and we got a lot of people that have been there. I walked through these through spring break with Mr. Whitman, many of them, and we've been through the ups and downs, and I think to know where we're going, we have to know where we've been, and this is a building upon where we've been, and makes us a better and safer city. So I appreciate all y'all's hard work, and congratulations to also our Citizens Academy graduates. It's really, really good thing, and
thank staff for putting in the time and effort and making that possible.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Register. Vice Mayor.
Well, I was going to give a TDC report, but.
I should have, I didn't see your hand.
But no, I mean, it was great. We had some legislative change that allowed us to fund the lifeguard program through another means than the 10% public safety funding, as well as additional costs that the city had through the TDC revenue. So, you know, it was a great accomplishment of the TDC. I saw the opportunity and it turned out great. Another thing, Mr. Councilman Register brought this up. The TDC did do is beginning a marketing campaign to try to affect change in our spring break occurrences. So they're on board with us in conjunction with the HIP. They're attacking it from a marketing standpoint, which is what they do. So hopefully that will make an impact to the betterment of the city of Panama City Beach. I want to thank, you know, all our law enforcement, public safety, especially on today, with it being September the 11th. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Well, about the beach safety. You know, I know the entire board passed it, but I know our two members here were the particular champions, and I know particularly Vice Mayor, you were really focused on this. I think this is where you saw the opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
I know Councilman Register heavily participated in that, so sincerely appreciate it. We're focused on keeping this beach safe, free, and a place of joy. Joy to soak in the beach, to try a restaurant, to enjoy the amusements, to join a worship service. That is, you know, on the beach during spring break, that's what we're focused on. Let's keep the end goal in mind. I know there's some concerns about costs. We have particular safety challenges here. We have safety challenges because of riptides, rip currents. We have safety challenges because of the seasonal nature for a small beach. As Chief indicated, we're the smallest town, smallest police department to deal with these kind of crowds. And so we have to use best practices where we see them from industry, where we see them from around the state, and we have to adapt them to this. I believe we've taken a significant step forward with the passage of the first reading of 1667. Of course, we will continue to invite input on the ordinance. Citizens Academy, great job, team. Absolutely amazing. Really appreciate everyone who's been involved in it. Couldn't have done it without without the departments. I don't know, Miss White overseeing it, LaToya making it happen. Just absolutely amazing. And I want to really say how much I appreciate our partnership with the county. People don't know where they cross the city limits. They just, for visitors and actually some residents, they just seem like imaginary lines. So the county passing something similar is going to be essential to this success of this. So I strongly encourage them to work through this ordinance, particularly the SAFE program. And as many have noted, it's September 11th. There was a lot of tragedy that day and a lot of bravery. So take time to honor their memories. With that, this meeting is adjourned. See you in 2 weeks.